Beneath Oregon's breathtaking beauty lies a darker truth. Abandoned hotels, haunted theaters, restless spirits wandering the forests and coastlines. These are not just stories, they are encounters, whispered by those who dared to see for themselves. Tonight, we uncover the top 15 haunted places in Oregon, if you're brave enough to follow. 1. Shanghai Tunnels, Portland. You step into the dimly lit underbelly of Portland, where the infamous Shanghai Tunnels stretch like veins beneath the city. Built in the late 1800s, these passages were once used for a thriving underground trade bars, opium dens, and storage rooms, all connected by secret doors. But they were also the stage for something far darker. Men drinking at waterfront saloons would suddenly vanish, only to awaken chained in the bowels of ships bound for Asia. Women too were taken, forced into lives they never chose. The tunnels became a prison, a highway of despair buried beneath Portland's lively streets. As you walk, the air grows heavy, the brick walls pressing closer. People swear they've heard muffled cries echoing in the silence, voices of the kidnapped who never made it out. Paranormal investigators have captured sudden temperature drops and shadowy figures darting just beyond the light. One chilling account tells of a tour guide who felt a cold hand grip his shoulder, though no one was there. Another visitor fainted after seeing a pale figure slip through a locked doorway. Here, every creak of wood, every rush of air feels like a whisper from the past. You can almost hear chains dragging across the floor, the desperate pounding of fists against locked doors. The Shanghai Tunnels are not just history. They are still alive with the restless souls who never escaped. 2. Pittock Mansion, Portland. You find yourself standing before the grand Pittock Mansion. Perched high on the West Hills of Portland, built in 1914 by Henry Pittock, a powerful newspaper magnate, this lavish estate was meant to be a symbol of wealth and permanence. But just 5 years later, Henry and his wife Georgiana were gone, leaving behind a house that seemed too alive to ever be empty. Step inside, and the silence is heavy, as though the mansion itself remembers. Visitors often report the faint scent of roses drifting through rooms, even in the dead of winter. They say it's Georgiana's spirit, her favorite flower, her lingering presence. Others have witnessed windows unlocking themselves, doors creaking open as if someone unseen still roams the halls. In one chilling account, a photographer developing his work inside the mansion suddenly felt watched. When the image appeared, a shadowy figure stood in the frame, though no one else had been there. Tour guides whisper of Henry's ghostly figure gazing out the upper windows, as though still keeping watch over the city he once ruled. Every step echoes with a strange familiarity, as if you are trespassing in a place that was never truly abandoned. The Pittock Mansion is more than a relic of Portland's past. It is a reminder that some homes are never empty, and some residents never leave. 3. McMenamins Edgefield, Troutdale. The McMenamins Edgefield estate began in 1911 as the Multnomah County Poor Farm, a sprawling complex where the elderly, the sick, and the destitute were sent to live out their final days. Later, it became a nursing home, and eventually a psychiatric hospital, its walls absorbing decades of suffering and despair. Today, it thrives as a hotel, winery, and concert venue under McMenamins. Yet beneath its cheerful facade, shadows still linger. Guests often describe waking in the night to the sound of footsteps pacing outside their locked doors, only to open them and find the halls empty. Some hear the faint hum of voices in rooms where no one is staying. The most terrifying stories come from the old infirmary wing, where visitors report seeing frail figures drifting silently across the corridors. One chilling account tells of a woman staying overnight who felt her blanket slowly being pulled from the bed, inch by inch, as though unseen hands were trying to expose her. Others claim to see a pale figure of a nurse, her eyes hollow, standing at the end of the hallway before vanishing into the dark. Here, laughter from the bar above mixes with whispers from a past that refuses to die. The Edgefield is alive with music and life, but if you listen closely, you'll hear something else, the restless voices of those who were left behind. 4. Hot Lake Hotel, La Grande. On the windswept plains near La Grande stands the Hot Lake Hotel, a place born in hope but steeped in tragedy. Built in the mid-1800s around a natural hot spring, it was once a luxurious resort, drawing wealthy travelers who came to heal in its waters. By the early 1900s, it had transformed into a sanatorium and hospital. Soldiers wounded in war, patients stricken with disease, the mentally ill all passed through its doors. Many never left. The hotel later fell into ruin. Fire blackened its walls, and time eroded its grandeur. Yet what remained was something darker, something that refused to be erased. Visitors today speak of echoing screams in the night, as if pain lingers in the very air. Shadowy figures have been seen gliding across the windows of empty rooms. One caretaker reported hearing piano music drifting through the halls, but when he followed the sound, he found only a dusty, broken instrument. Guests describe sudden chills, doors slamming shut on their own, and faces appearing in mirrors where no one stood. Most haunting of all is the presence of a spectral nurse. People claim she wanders the corridors, checking on patients who died long ago. Her white uniform glows faintly in the darkness, then vanishes the moment you dare to look closer. The Hot Lake Hotel was meant to be a place of healing. Instead, it became a house of echoes, a place where suffering is eternal, and the past still cries out to be heard. 5. Geiser Grand Hotel, Baker City. Rising proudly in Baker City since 1889, the Geiser Grand Hotel was once called the Queen of the Mines. During the gold rush, it hosted wealthy tycoons, elegant ladies, and outlaws alike. Its grand staircase, glittering chandeliers, and opulent dining halls made it the jewel of Eastern Oregon. But behind all that beauty, whispers of the past still haunt its walls. Guests often speak of a mysterious woman in a Victorian gown, descending the staircase as though the party never ended. Staff call her the Lady in Blue. She's been seen gazing into mirrors, brushing her hair, or drifting silently into the grand dining room. Some believe she was a socialite who died here, forever tied to the luxury she adored. But she isn't alone. Miners who lost their fortunes, a former chef who still clatters in the kitchen, and even ghostly children have all been reported. One guest woke in the night to see a little girl standing at the foot of his bed when he blinked. She was gone. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained voices, captured floating orbs of light, and even felt their equipment yanked from their hands. In one particularly chilling encounter, a worker cleaning a suite swore he saw a figure watching him in the mirror, though the room behind him was empty. The Geiser Grand still dazzles with elegance, but if you stay the night, don't be fooled by its charm. Here, the past isn't gone. It's dressed in velvet and lace, waiting on the staircase. watching, always watching. Six, Oregon State Hospital, Salem. You step into the imposing walls of the Oregon State Hospital. A place built in 1883 to house the mentally ill. For decades, it was overcrowded, underfunded, and filled with suffering. Dark stories seeped out patients confined to cages, experimental treatments with horrific side effects, and lives lost to neglect. Its haunted reputation only deepened after it became the filming site of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But what truly chills visitors isn't Hollywood. It's the whispers that remain inside. In the hospital's old wards, people report cold spots that freeze the air, doors that slam shut without warning, and shadows moving along the walls. The basement is especially notorious, where more than 3,000 cremated remains of forgotten patients were once stored in copper canisters. Many believe the spirits of those abandoned souls still wander, searching for acknowledgement. One staff member recalls walking the empty hallway late at night when a gurney suddenly rolled out on its own, wheels screeching against the tile. Others tell of hearing faint cries, as though patients are still pleading from the other side. Perhaps the most disturbing story comes from the underground tunnels connecting the hospital buildings. A security guard reported hearing footsteps following him, only to find no one there. Yet the sound grew louder, closer, until he ran for the exit. The Oregon State Hospital stands as a monument to forgotten lives and restless spirits. Within its halls, time has not healed every echo. Every shadow is a reminder that some suffering never ends. 7. Heceta Head Lighthouse, Florence. Perched high above the rugged Oregon coast, the Heceta Head Lighthouse has guided ships since 1894. Its beam cuts through the fog, but within the keeper's house, another presence lingers, a ghost known only as Rue. Legend says she was a grieving mother who lost her child here, and her sorrow was so deep that it never faded, even after death. Visitors describe the scent of roses drifting through the air, though no flowers are nearby. Windows open and close by themselves, and tools left by workers mysteriously move overnight. One renovation crew reported seeing a pale woman staring at them from an upstairs window, her face heavy with sadness. When they rushed inside, the room was empty except for the sound of quiet sobbing. A family once staying in the keeper's house awoke to find their child speaking softly into the dark. When asked who she was talking to, the girl answered, "The lady who lost her baby." Most unsettling of all, countless guests claimed to see Rue's shadow standing at the edge of the cliff, staring out toward the sea as if waiting for something that will never return. The Heceta Head Lighthouse is not just a beacon for sailors, it is a beacon for grief, for love that could not die. And if you listen to the wind on a stormy night, you may still hear Rue's mournful cry carried across the waves. 8. The Benson Hotel, Portland. In the heart of Portland stands the elegant Benson Hotel. Built in 1913 to embody sophistication and grandeur, politicians, celebrities, and royalty have all passed through its marble halls. But long after the guests leave, some say the Benson is never truly empty. Shadows drift across its ornate staircases, and mirrors seem to hold more than just reflections. The most famous spirit is believed to be the hotel's founder, Simon Benson himself. Guests have reported seeing a tall man in a three-piece suit, his expression stern, pacing the lobby as if still overseeing his beloved hotel. Some even claim he appears in their rooms, standing silently at the foot of the bed, vanishing when they blink. Others tell of a woman in a flowing dress who wanders the 9th floor. One guest awoke to see her staring from the corner of the room, only to dissolve into mist. Hotel staff whisper about lights flickering, elevators stopping on empty floors, and glasses shattering in deserted bars. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained whispers, soft and urgent, as though conversations from another time still linger in the air. In one chilling encounter, a maid stepped into a suite and found every piece of furniture turned upside down. When she returned moments later with help, the room was perfectly in order, untouched. The Benson remains one of Portland's most prestigious hotels. But beneath the luxury, its halls echo with footsteps from the past. And perhaps, if you stay the night, you'll find yourself sharing a room with a guest who never checked out. 9. Lithia Park, Ashland. At first glance, Lithia Park looks like a peaceful retreat. Lush trees, winding trails, and a gentle stream running through the heart of Ashland. But when the sun sets and the mist creeps in, the park becomes something else entirely. Its beauty hides a tragedy that still walks among the shadows. Legend tells of a young woman brutally murdered here decades ago. Her body was found near the pond, and since then, her spirit has never rested. Locals warn not to wander too close to the water at night, for that's where she appears. Visitors have reported hearing soft weeping carried on the wind, though no one is there. Some claim to see her figure, pale and fragile, gliding across the trails before vanishing into the darkness. One couple described a chilling moment when the air around them dropped suddenly, and a woman's whisper echoed, "Help me." Yet they were completely alone. Most disturbing are the accounts of people who feel her icy touch. A jogger once recalled being shoved violently off the path, but when he looked back, no one was behind him. Paranormal investigators have captured strange orbs of light and disembodied voices, as though the park itself holds on to her pain by day. Lithia Park is a place of beauty, but by night, it is a graveyard of memory. And if you listen closely near the pond, you may hear her sorrowful cries forever, calling from the shadows of the trees. 10. Columbia Gorge Hotel, Hood River. Perched on a cliff with a sweeping view of the Columbia River, the Columbia Gorge Hotel has stood since 1921 as a glamorous retreat for the wealthy. Its gardens bloomed with roses, its dining hall filled with laughter and music. But behind the elegance lies a tragic legend that refuses to fade. They say a young bride, heartbroken and betrayed, leapt from the cliff near the hotel, her white gown billowing as she plunged into the river below. Since then, her spirit has lingered, a restless echo of that fateful night. Guests often report seeing a veiled woman drifting silently through the halls, her presence heavy with sorrow. Staff whisper about rooms where sudden cold spots freeze the air, or where lights flicker violently, as though reacting to unseen rage. One guest awoke to the sound of footsteps pacing the floor above, yet the room overhead was empty. Another swore he saw a woman in a wedding dress standing at the edge of the cliff, her figure glowing faintly in the moonlight before she vanished into the mist. Paranormal investigators have recorded disembodied cries echoing through the gardens, sounds that match the stories of her final scream. Some say if you walk the cliffside alone at night, you'll feel her presence at your side, urging you toward the edge. The Columbia Gorge Hotel may dazzle with beauty, but it is beauty draped in sorrow. And when the wind howls across the river, it carries with it the ghostly lament of a bride who never found peace. 11. Old Wheeler Hotel, Wheeler. Along the quiet Oregon coast, nestled in the tiny town of Wheeler, stands the Old Wheeler Hotel. At first glance, it's charming, a cozy historic inn overlooking Nehalem Bay. But step inside, and you'll feel it, the weight of something unseen, lingering in every hallway. Guests often describe waking in the middle of the night to find a shadow moving across their room, though no one else is there. Some have seen faces staring back at them from mirrors, only to disappear when they look again. One couple swore they felt the bed shake violently, as though someone had sat down beside them, yet the room was empty. The most unnerving stories come from those who claim to feel touched. A guest once awoke to the sensation of icy fingers brushing across her hand. Another man described being gently pushed as he walked the stairs, almost as if an invisible presence wanted him to fall. Even the hotel staff admit strange happenings. Lights flicker, doors lock on their own, and music sometimes drifts through the halls when no radios or instruments are playing. Paranormal investigators who visited the inn captured unexplained whispers on recorders, soft voices that seemed to say, "Stay." The Old Wheeler Hotel may look warm and inviting, but its charm hides something restless. And if you spend the night here, don't be surprised if the darkness doesn't let you sleep. 12. Reed College, Portland. Founded in 1908. Reed College is known for its rigorous academics and eccentric culture. But behind the ivy-covered walls, stories of something darker have haunted its campus for decades. The library, with its towering stacks and hushed silence, is said to be one of the most active places. Students studying late at night often feel the unmistakable sensation of being watched. Shadows flickering just beyond the lamplight. One chilling tale speaks of a student who swore he saw a man standing between the bookshelves, dressed in outdated clothing. When he approached, the figure simply dissolved into thin air. Others claim to hear the rustling of pages in empty aisles, or footsteps echoing across the quiet floors when no one is there. The dormitories have their own terrors. Residents report doors slamming violently, lights flickering, and sudden temperature drops that make the air turn icy. In one dorm, a student woke to find a pale face staring at her through the window of her second-story room, yet outside. Nothing could have been there. Perhaps the most disturbing account comes from the old theater building, where actors rehearsing alone have heard whispers from the stage, urging them to leave. Some have even claimed to see a figure sitting silently in the audience, watching, waiting. Reed College thrives on knowledge, creativity, and restless energy. But beneath that spirit of learning, the campus seems to hold on to something else. Fragments of lives that never left, and voices that refuse to be silenced. 13. Bagdad Theater, Portland. Built in 1927, the Bagdad Theater was once a crown jewel of Portland's movie palaces, a place where laughter, music, and the glow of the silver screen filled the air. Today, it still entertains crowds, but after the last film ends and the lights go dim, the real show begins. Employees often speak of footsteps echoing through the balcony when it's completely empty. Ushers have reported seeing shadowy figures slip between the rows of seats, only to vanish when approached. One projectionist told of hearing a man's voice whisper his name in the booth, though he was working alone that night. Some guests have claimed to see a man in old-fashioned clothes wandering near the stage. He appears lost, confused, as though still searching for something long after his time. In one chilling account, a janitor cleaning late at night saw a woman seated in the front row. When he asked her to leave, she stood up, turned slowly toward him, and then faded into nothing. Paranormal investigators have captured strange orbs of light floating across the theater and unexplained recordings of laughter, faint and distorted, echoing from the walls. The Bagdad still dazzles with its Art Deco beauty and vibrant performances, but in its shadows, the past lingers. And if you ever stay behind after the credits roll, you may discover you're not the only one still sitting in the dark. 14. Wolf Creek Inn, Wolf Creek. Deep in the forests of southern Oregon stands the Wolf Creek Inn, the oldest continuously operating inn in the Pacific Northwest. Built in 1883, it welcomed stagecoach travelers, weary miners, and even famous guests like Clark Gable and Jack London. Its rustic charm remains, but so too do the spirits of those who never left. Guests often report hearing heavy footsteps echoing through the hallways at night, though no one is there. Some awaken to the sensation of being watched, only to glimpse a shadowy figure standing at the end of the bed. The most famous apparition is said to be a woman in white, drifting silently along the upstairs corridor. She appears briefly, then vanishes into the walls. One staff member recounted a chilling moment while cleaning. She heard a door slam behind her, and when she turned, she saw the figure of a man staring coldly before disappearing into thin air. Others speak of icy drafts sweeping through locked rooms and mirrors reflecting faces that don't belong to anyone in the room. Paranormal investigators have recorded disembodied voices and unexplained knocks in the old dining area. Some guests even claim to feel invisible hands brush against their arms, as though unseen hosts still linger, greeting travelers from another time. The Wolf Creek Inn may welcome visitors with warmth and history, but in the silence of midnight, the past awakens, and those who spend the night often leave with a story, because here, the dead are still very much alive. 15. Multnomah Falls Lodge, Columbia River Gorge. At the base of Oregon's most famous waterfall stands the Multnomah Falls Lodge. Built in 1925 as a haven for travelers, the thundering cascade outside is breathtaking, but the lodge carries a legend that chills the heart. Long before the lodge existed, the falls were sacred to the native people of the Columbia River Gorge. One tale tells of a young princess who, to save her tribe from disease, sacrificed herself by leaping from the cliff into the waters below. Her spirit, they say, has never left. Visitors often describe seeing a ghostly white figure drifting through the mist, her long hair flowing as if carried by the wind. Sometimes she appears on the bridge that spans the falls, vanishing when approached. Others report sudden icy chills, as though a presence has passed directly through them, inside the lodge itself. Strange things happen. Guests hear footsteps in empty hallways, and the faint sound of weeping carried on the air. In one account, a family dining in the restaurant watched in horror as glasses slid across their table on their own. A staff member once claimed to see a woman's reflection in a window, though when he turned, no one stood there. The Multnomah Falls Lodge remains a place of beauty, drawing thousands of visitors every year. But beneath the roar of the falls is a sorrowful echo, a reminder of a sacrifice made long ago. And when the mist rises on a moonlit night, many believe the princess still walks there, bound forever to the waters that claimed her life. From forgotten tunnels to ghostly lighthouses, Oregon hides more than history. It hides the restless dead. Which of these haunted places would you dare to visit? Or would you rather leave the spirits undisturbed until next time? Remember, the shadows are always closer than you think.